Yesterday, we talked about the mock class for 2025 on offense. So today, only naturally, we'll talk about the defense.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, we got a mock defensive class to go over today. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, though, and thank you for making this your first listen every single day, although that probably isn't possible this week because I've been putting them out late because I'm in Lake Tahoe and I'm 2 hours behind everybody at least. So there's that. But, Jimmy, we got the 2025 defensive mock class to go over yesterday. If you missed it on the pod, we did the 2025 mock offensive class with Joseph Hastings, one of your cohorts at Bama Online. And one of your other cohorts, Andrew Bone, is who put this list together. And we're going to start on the defensive line. Josiah Sharma, who's a 3-star from Folsom, California. London Merritt, who's a 4-star from IMG Academy. I'm glad to see Alabama still keeping that pipeline open potentially. And then, surprise, Antonio Coleman, a 4-star out of Saraland High School. You may remember him as the guy who was once committed to Alabama, now currently committed to Auburn. And eventually, Andrew Bone thinks he may end up in this class again for Alabama.
Yeah, those are interesting names, all of them, really. First of all, just a quick note about London Merritt at IMG. One of the interesting things about the makeup of the current staff is that Kalen DeBoer kept Robert Gillespie, the running back coach, who's a good recruiter and a great running back coach, but he's a good recruiter too. And he recruited IMG for the Saban staff. So I'm assuming Gillespie, of course, will continue recruiting IMG because there's no more important school to recruit in the country than IMG. I mean, it's a state in and of itself. There will be as many elite prospects at IMG as there is in the state of Alabama or the state of Mississippi. That's in terms of the truly elite, which is incredible. So you must have a significant presence at IMG. And so Coach G will continue recruiting IMG, which makes some sense there in terms of the letters. Now, Josiah Sharma.
Maybe it stands for I'm Gillespie.
I'm Gillespie. Cool. That's why we get so many kids there. We just cracked the code. Sharma from California. Here's one, we have to remind people this all the time at BOL, annually, daily, weekly, not to take the rankings too seriously this early. It's insanely early to expect any finality to 2025 rank. The 2024 ranking, the final rankings, the only rankings that matter that now label the kids for life are a week old, and people already want, in 2025, how come there aren't more 5-stars? Look, this is a process, and this is the earliest stages of it. And I say that to say Sharma's going up. He's a 3-star today. He is a lock to go up. He's just now getting on the radar of a lot of schools and a lot of the evaluators. He's offered by everyone that studies him. So he's going up. And he likes the DeBoer staff a lot. And I think Alabama's got an outstanding shot at him considering he's a Folsom, California guy. But who else is from Folsom? Williams, right? Jonas Williams, Jonah Williams, the tackle we had, he was from Folsom. And I think Austin Mack is from there. I think so. Pretty sure. Gonna look into that. But he's from somewhere around there. If he's not from that exact high school. Centennial? Is Austin Mack from Centennial?
No, I said I'll investigate that now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Austin Mack might be from Centennial High School near Folsom or in Folsom. But anyway, I think Austin Mack's from that general area. But Sharma is big time. I think the most surprising name, though, of the three that Luke laid out there for the defensive line to me was Antonio Coleman, in the sense that Bone is basically going rogue, going early with a projected flip. I think that's super interesting because nobody knows this stuff any better than BOL, any better than Andrew Bone, Tim Watts, and Joseph Hastings. They know the recruiting landscape better than anyone for Alabama. So don't discount that. Don't discount that. But man, what a turn of events that would be to be committed to Alabama, committed to Auburn, and then back to Alabama. But his teammate Ryan Williams is in Tuscaloosa. Freddie Roach is an outstanding recruiter. Kane Womack is going to recruit the Mobile area. You know Kane Womack will be a solid recruiter, especially in Mobile, because he already knows those kids. Good chance Antonio Coleman's probably attended events at USA and already knows Kane Womack. So I would love it. I know Luke is a big Antonio Coleman fan. I am too. Got to gain a little size, I think, to be a true national top 100 guy, but he'll do that. Man, landing Coleman's big. To me, it'll be interesting, Luke. Are we already at, is Antonio Coleman going to be 2025's Ryan Williams? In other words, a national elite kid that's a must get for Alabama and Auburn that both schools will be really confident about all the way through. And then we won't really know what's going to happen until roughly signing day. I mean, that could easily be the story of Antonio Coleman in 2025.
I want to keep this discussion going about the mock class, but first of all, Austin Mack is from Folsom. I looked that up. Secondly, something you said just reminded me of something. Yesterday, in one of his articles, Philip Marshall said, from the Auburn site, said a good source told him Ryan Williams cost Alabama $2 million. Not true. Now, I don't believe that. Now, if you're saying it's $2 million over the course of his time in Alabama, I could certainly buy that. If you're telling me it's $2 million to come to Alabama, and again, he admitted it's all perfectly legal, but of course, he turned his nose up at it too, at the same time knowing good and well that Auburn's doing the same thing. I mean, we all are. If you're not, you're going to finish dead last in recruiting. And it's legal, by the way. But that number astounded me. I just don't think that's right, Jimmy.
I don't think it's true either. I think it's a lot. I bet it's a lot.
I bet it's a lot too. And I bet, again, $2 million over the course of his career is not crazy to me at all. In fact, that may be low. $2 million just to be at Alabama next year seems high.
I don't know a lot about this as much as I should, and amounts are always kept hush hush. But that's 5-star quarterback money, where everyone in the nation wants the 5-star quarterback. That money is realistic if it's a 5-star quarterback and everyone in the country wants them. Then that's probably a number that's realistic. I don't think that number is realistic for a wide receiver, even a 5-star, even a transcendent one like Ryan. I'm sure Ryan was paid, is going to earn at Alabama his market value for a premier wide receiver. But I would be surprised, but I don't know. I'd be surprised to learn it's elite quarterback money.
Well, this is where I think you guys over at BOL do a good job. Y'all have that NIL market valuation.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think y'all put that out there. Y'all don't put that out there willy-nilly. I mean,
Shannon Terry has been adamant that a lot of that information is collected from direct conversations with collectives. Okay.
That's very interesting. I mean, to me, the other last week or something, somebody said, Ryan Williams got $6 million to sign with Alabama. I said, look, no. I don't. Yes, I do bet often. I was going to say I don't bet often. But I would be willing to bet a nice sum of money that maybe $6 million.
Yeah. I'll bet $6 million he didn't sign. Yeah. I'll bet $6 million he didn't sign for $6 million.
And if he did and if it is for $6 million, and I win my bet, and that's what he cost, I'm going to pay it because I love him that much.
And I don't know it. I don't know enough to be an NIL expert by any means, but there is a lot of fan confusion out there, and it derives from the difference between brand value and roster value. That the general casual fan understandably does not know the difference between brand value and roster value. Really quickly, brand value is Bryce Young's Dr. Pepper deal, Fanville. Riley Leonard with Notre Dame has a great NIL deal with Gillette razor. I mean, those are brands that go to agents and say, we want him to be the face of our company. And that's where players cash in big. But that's a few select players. The third-team linebacker doesn't have a deal with Mercedes-Benz, but Caleb Williams did, and Jalen Milroe might, but not everybody. Most players make NIL money from what's called roster value, which means a value they are paid for being on the roster, and that is paid by the collectives, and they pay a wide range of money from very little to quite a bit for the most highly sought after and then successful college players. That runs the gamut from very little to very much a lot. But that's the difference. You have to understand the difference between roster value and brand value. Roster value is money generally paid by collectives.
Okay, I want to go back to this mock class. We'll finish that up. We'll also talk about some freshmen who may make an impact for next year, and maybe wrap it up with a little basketball talk, because Alabama's got a big one against LSU coming up. Of course, I want to tell you about FanDuel, though. FanDuel with the Super Bowl coming up, you need FanDuel. You need FanDuel in your life right now. Go check out FanDuel.com/lockedon. You will not be sorry. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. And you can do that with FanDuel. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. They got a lot of funky stuff over there you want to check out. New customers, join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel, which is America's #1 sports book and an official partner of the NFL. So going back to this defensive mock class that Andrew Bone puts out, by the way, I really appreciate his putting this out because, we've just wrapped up that recruiting class. And so I'm ready to hear about some more good stuff.
No one should take it serious. No one should take it super serious.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, people do. But they shouldn't, even though it comes with the caveat. No one take this seriously. It's too early for this, but it's fun. And I know y'all will have fun. And instead, people are like, this is what it's going to be? My gosh, get rid of that staff.
All right. Well, on linebackers, this is where it gets a little interesting too. Miles Johnson, who's already committed to Alabama, a 4-star from T.R. Miller. And I think the staff, at least the previous staff, absolutely loved his athleticism. Now, I think he battled some injuries, and so he may not be as highly ranked by some as he should be.
Didn't have much junior tape because of injury.
Right. So then there's Zion Grady, who was once committed to Alabama. Alabama's trying to get him back in the fold. He's a top 100 edge rusher from Charles Henderson in Troy, Alabama. And then Alabama goes back out to Mater Dei for Abdul Sanders, who's a 3-star linebacker from Santa Ana. And then he also mentions, as same as he does with the defensive line, look, there'll be another guy probably on this list that we don't even know about yet. And he does the same for linebackers. And again, that's the danger of putting out a mock class right after the other class is just over, because somebody may blossom here at the last second.
Yeah, I love all those guys. Miles Johnson, I've been a big fan of. I was so happy when Alabama offered him, because I'm a big fan. And then he kind of lost his entire junior year to injury, so there won't be a lot of recent tape. And he'll end up being underranked just because people won't be able to see him play until his senior year, when so much of the hay is in the barn with rankings. But Miles Johnson is a great prospect. He could probably play running back even at the Power 5 level. That's how athletic he is. But he's born to play linebacker. His linebacker tape as a young player, fantastic. Zion Grady, that would be a big get, a little bit of a recapture like Ryan Williams, because he's previously committed to the old staff. Got to convince him that nothing's changing with Alabama defense, and there's a spot for him in this scheme, and he can still stay home and play for his favorite team. I mean, that's going to have to be the sales job to him. He's big time. Zion Grady could end up a 5-star. I mean, that's how good Zion Grady is. He's that level of player. Don't know much about the modern day kid, but for those that are like, wow, there's a few California kids here, that's where Washington recruits. That's where Washington cannot be successful without signing California players. That's the formula at the University of Washington for being competitive, is recruiting Northern California extremely well. So you can expect that Alabama will be involved with Northern California kids, because the 5 Washington coaches will have extensive contacts and networking there in that area. So I think Alabama's success in California will continue under the new staff because Saban recruited California very well, thanks to coaches like Tosh Lupoy and Steve Sarkisian.
Is there anybody not on either the defensive line or linebacker list that you think should be on there? Or that, maybe leaning to Alabama, or that you hope Alabama gets involved with more?
Too early. I'll throw out a name. I'm not sure he'll be offered by Alabama. He would be a camp offer. I like a Spanish Fort linebacker named Bishop Burkhalter. Played alongside Sterling Dixon this past year, 6'2", 215, starting to rack up Power 5 offers. I've always believed Bishop would be a Power 5 guy. I hope he comes to camp at Alabama and earns an offer. I think he'd be interesting. Older brother is a FCS quarterback. Second older brother is a linebacker at Georgia Tech. Bishop's probably the best of all the Burkhalters and has been basically a 4-year starter in high school football. And as we know, Spanish Fort's pretty good in terms of producing a lot of big-time players. Burkhalters belongs on that list. So I think he's an interesting name to monitor, but probably more of a he's got to earn it at camp type guy.
Okay. Well, let's wrap it up with the defensive backs here. Now, let's remember, Alabama signed the best defensive class in the country this past year. This one is not going to wow you quite as much as that one because you're not going to find a class that's going to have Zay Mincy, Jalen Mbakwe, and Xavier Brown. I mean, those are 3 5-star defensive backs. Okay. So, but on this list for Andrew Bone, he has Dejon Lee, the number 4 cornerback from Mission Viejo in California. He has Anquan Fagans from Thompson in Alabaster. And, that one stands out to me a little bit. I haven't heard Alabama a lot with him recently. And then Shamari Earls, the number 10 cornerback from Virginia. The 2 things that stand out to me here is, number 1, back into California and then all the way back over to Virginia. So Alabama is still casting that wide net under this class. Under this staff, I should say.
Yeah, again, California and Alabama kids. Fagans was super interesting there because national top 100 player, brother at USC. Anquan was committed to USC. Now clearly not going to end up at USC. Looking around, I think Georgia's going to be significant for Anquan. I think Auburn will be hugely significant for Anquan. Alabama definitely in the mix. Alabama's got a good relationship with the kids from Thompson in terms of you'll get in the door with the Thompson kids. You just got to close the deal. Fagan's a lot like the Antonio Coleman situation. Could be an Alabama-Auburn battle all the way to the end. But let's see, clearly willing to leave home with older brother in L.A. But also think interesting, Bone, and he would know better than I, so I defer to him. But I sort of like Derek Smith from Southside Selma as a defensive back and not a receiver.
Well, he's put him at wide receiver.
He's put him at wide receiver. So he was on the wide receiver list for Andrew. And Andrew's probably right. And I'm just saying that Jimmy likes him at defensive back. But he is definitely a guy that would be a major elite prospect at receiver or defensive back. So it's just a matter of taste. And hey, some kids are very scheme specific. Like, for instance, let's say Derek Smith wants to play at Alabama because that's his favorite school. He might look at DeBoer and say, hey, you know what? Under Kalen DeBoer, I want to play wide receiver. Under Nick Saban, I wanted to play DB. But under DeBoer, I might want to play wide receiver. That happens all the time. Sometimes kids, and it's kind of a soapbox thing for me. Bubba Hampton, that's in our class. Texas wanted him to play defensive back. Alabama said you can play wherever you want. He signed with Alabama to play wide receiver. And we have legions of fans going, you know what? Let's put him on defense. He signed with Alabama to play offense. That's my interpretation. Like Drew Sanders. Alabama fans wanted to move him to tight end the whole time. He chose Alabama over Oklahoma because Oklahoma wanted to play him at tight end. If we'd have moved him to tight end, he'd have left in a half a second. I mean, he came to Alabama to play defense. So just that's my interpretation of Bubba Hampton, who is going to play wide receiver at Alabama. Texas specifically told him defense. And he's like, well, you know what? Alabama then. So let's not talk about moving him to defense. Oh, a mute.
God, how did I mute out?
It's so frustrating.
It's so frustrating.
It's so funny. As you get increasingly frustrated, I get increasingly entertained.
I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, like I even have like a 2-hour advantage over you. I'm out in Tahoe. I should know this. Anyway, Jimmy, when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the freshmen that may have an impact for next year. And we're also going to sneak in a little basketball talk. Okay, so another good article put together by you guys was who are some of the guys in this 2024 class that will step up. Look, I'm immediately going to say Ryan Williams, and you guys over at BOL also said Ryan Williams. I don't think there's any reason to talk about that anymore. People already think I'd gush over Ryan Williams too much. So the other ones that were listed were Peyton Woodyard. Now, look, I would not have put him on this list, but I like it. Maybe with Caleb Downs gone, with Christian Story gone, with Jake Pope gone, maybe this is a great opportunity for him. Zay Mincy was also another one. And then Xavier Brown. So, two of those big cornerbacks. It's kind of hard to believe they don't have Jalen Mbakwe on there too, because he's higher rated than those two. But then the other one was Caleb Odom. I 100% expect Caleb Odom to be a big contributor for next year.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, Ryan's the answer. I mean, I know that people get Ryan Williams to death. So do we. I mean, we talk about this kid more than anyone. Me and Luke recently tackled the subject: is Ryan Williams the second most popular player associated with Alabama football, other than Jalen Milroe? And Ryan Williams isn't even enrolled as a student at Alabama. And the answer is almost certainly yes. But I think Ryan's the answer, just simply because he's going to have an opportunity, as there's going to be a lot of roles that are open auditions for wide receiver, and he's an extraordinary talent. And no doubt you got to go DBs next, because again, combination of talent plus opportunity, and the opportunity will be there to earn roles in the defensive backfield. And there's multiple players with extraordinary talent. So the DBs and Ryan Williams is the direction to go in terms of which freshmen are going to be impactful. Now, Caleb Odom also has an interesting situation, because he's so clearly replacing someone who was playing a role, and that's Amari Niblack. I mean, Amari Niblack leaves, Caleb Odom simply fills in for the Amari Niblack role, because he's Amari Niblack. So I can see Caleb Odom playing a role in that way. We'll see. All the other spots, it could be injury, but there has to be opportunity, because true freshmen in general don't beat out juniors and seniors who have been playing college football for 2 or 3 years and been trained to play college football. So it's talent plus opportunity is where that comes in. One last thing I'll throw in real quickly. I'm higher on Jalen Mbakwe playing earlier than some people, like Clint Lamb in that article. Clint smartly points out, hey, Mbakwe's got less time at corner than Mincy and Xavier Brown. So I'm going Mincy and Xavier Brown, because Mbakwe's got to learn a lot. I agree totally. I'm just more on, you watch how fast this kid picks it up. I mean, I think natural athleticism, and the kid's got through the roof intangibles. I'm just saying I'm higher on Mbakwe playing quickly as opposed to some others.
I'm with you on there, and that's why I thought it was a little odd. Technically, he's probably not as sound as the other two,
right,
speed-wise, and the fact that he led his team to the state championship over Ryan Williams' club, who I really believe Ryan Williams' team has more talent. I believe that. I might be wrong. I'm not trying to insult Clay Chalkville. I'm just saying that I think when you have KJ Lacey going to Texas, Ryan Williams going to Bama, Antonio Coleman going to Auburn or Alabama, they had dudes everywhere. And Clay Chalkville's got some dudes too, notably Jalen Mbakwe. But I would say Saraland was supposed to win that game, and Clay Chalkville did it.
Yeah, Mbakwe, no doubt.
Okay.
I mean,
so let's talk a little basketball to wind up. Any quick thoughts on the Auburn game? I wasn't completely despondent. It helped that I was in California essentially for this game, so I don't have to worry about it. And it started at 4 p.m. over here. And when it was over, I just sort of moved on. But, there was the incident where an Auburn fan sort of got close to Nate Oates, and the assistant sort of pushed him back a little bit. Hey, I'm going to tell you the truth. I was sort of all for it. If you're going to be a jerk and go up in somebody's trying to go in a coach's face and say something, no telling what he said, expect to get pushed.
That was a nothing burger. And we seem to be in our society right now really stretching the definition of pushing and shoving. I would say he was touched. I mean, he was not shoved in a violent manner.
No, he wasn't. He was basically told, get back.
Don't trash talk the other team in their personal space. And by the way, if an Alabama fan ran up in the face of an Auburn athlete and trash talked and you invaded his personal space and he punches you, you have that coming. And I would say that about an Auburn athlete to an Alabama fan. Don't invade the personal space of other kids you're trying to taunt. I mean, you get what's coming if you're that insensitive and stupid. And it's got to stop. This rush in the field stuff, it's exciting, it's fun, but it leads to incidents like that, invading the personal space of people in an aggressive manner. It can't happen. It can't. People shouldn't act like that.
But overall, I mean, look, hey, Auburn beat Alabama, beat them pretty good, beat them straight up. Nothing I can say about it except they just beat them. And I think it sucks that there were 80 something free throws or whatever it was. That's just not good basketball. And that's an official trying to be a part of the game. If you ask me, I just think that basketball's better without that. And frankly, I think there should, at the same time, I think there could have been some other calls made, but it wasn't. It is what it is. Auburn just beat Alabama pretty thoroughly, and you got to move on. It's the SEC on the road. Sometimes that's going to happen. So what you can't do is let Auburn beat you twice. I think we all, at least I did, I assumed we would lose this game. I assumed we would lose the Tennessee game. These aren't surprises to me. Right. We need to beat LSU on the road. We're better.
This is winnable. This is a very winnable game. It's going to be hard, but winnable. Hard, but winnable.
I'm not going to even say when you say winnable, it makes it seem like we should be the underdog. I think this is not must win, but this is should win.
Yeah, I agree. If Alabama's goal is, you know what, we might win the SEC and we might make it to the Sweet 16 and beyond, then you need to win this game. This is a game that needs to be won to accomplish those things. Not winning it doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're not good. But if you think you're a Sweet 16 team, if you think you can win the SEC, then you win this game. Agree totally.
And here's another thing about it. And this is going to sound so obvious, it may sound stupid. 17-7 looks a heck of a lot better than 16-8. And I mean, like, not just a one game difference. It looks a lot better.
It's like the difference between elite and good.
This would also be our worst loss if we were to lose to them.
Yeah, I think what's the worst loss right now? Ohio State?
Yeah, I think Ohio State's probably the worst loss.
But they're good.
But then, they're not bad. I mean, I don't know if they're going to make the tournament. It's going to be close. They beat somebody the other night at home. But they've sort of fallen off a little bit. I wish we played them later than earlier.
Yeah. I think we caught Ohio State and Clemson and both at a bad time. I think they were they playing their best basketball when we lost.
Clemson just went and beat number 3.
Yeah, they beat North Carolina. They beat North Carolina on the road. Yeah, so, I think they're both good teams, and LSU's good. Is LSU an NCAA tournament team?
No,
probably not.
No, they're like 12-10 or 13-11. So something like that.
Yeah, but they're capable, and they played us tough. They seem to have a pretty good scouting report on us, and played us tough. And I expect it to be tough down there. But and one last 20-second thing. I've read too much comments, Twitter and everywhere else. Alabama doesn't have the inside game to compete with Auburn. We just beat them. We played them 2 weeks ago and won the game. We can't. What? We just did.
And not only that, Jimmy, as Brian Passek pointed out, our buddy, a friend of the program, a friend of mine, friend of yours, good dude, Chase Goodbread, who also a good dude, he tweeted something about Alabama needs to go get one of those big-bodied bangers and do this and do that. And Brian kind of snapped back because Brian can get defensive about Alabama basketball.
Understandable.
And I understand that. But Brian said, hey, look, Nate Oates has won 4 of the last 6 available championships in terms of SEC basketball in the last 3 years, the regular season and the tournament. And we're in the mix for it again this year. I think he's doing okay. I mean, this really is like when what was the old story about? There's a story about Nick Saban that when he first came to Alabama, and maybe a friend of mine told me this. He went into a convenience store and nobody knew who he was. Like they didn't know him. They just knew that Alabama had gotten this new coach, Nick Saban, and they were talking like, "Yeah, y'all heard about Alabama's new coach or something?" And he was just listening, and he said, "Yeah." He said, "Boy, he better do this, this, and this." And Nick overheard it all or something, and he was sort of like, "Why on earth do you think I would take advice from you? I've done okay. I don't need you." This was like in 07 or something. We all think we know what needs to happen. Like Alabama needs to go out and get a 85% 3-point shooter. Yeah, I think everybody would like that. Do you know of one? That'd be awesome.
You know what Alabama needs is Alabama needs an Antonio McDyess.
Well,
so do the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, he said, we need like an Irwin Dudley type. Would be awesome. Do you have a time machine? If you do, let's do something else besides bring Irwin Dudley back here first.
And he's literally on the bench and would probably help us a great deal even today. But Alabama's fine. Look, Mississippi State is bigger inside than Auburn. Yeah. And we beat them twice, including blowing them out. They got the best collection of big bodies in the league. Look, the thing is, Janai Broome is good. Williams is good. Those Tennessee inside guys, they're good. They're not just big, they're good. It's like when everybody said Nick Saban can't defend dual threat guys. We played dual threat guys every week and won 49-0. We couldn't defend the dual threat guys that were winning Heisman trophies. This is what's going on with basketball.
It's such a lazy argument.
Alabama can't defend interior. We can't defend the really good interior players. But we defend big-bodied interior. We just beat Tolu Smith by 30 points, But he scored. He had a nice game. But, the problem with Auburn with Broome is good. Williams is good. Tennessee's big guys are good players.
And here's the other thing. Who has won down there of late? The two toughest places to play in the SEC right now? Alabama and Auburn. Those are the two toughest plays. Now, you want to hate on Coleman Coliseum? Fine. I think it's kind of a dump, too. I want a new Coliseum. I want it just like everybody else. At the same time, bring your happy butt on in there and let's see if you walk out with a W. Most people don't.
Again, it's the can't. Alabama can't recruit with Coleman Coliseum as the home call. Alabama's recruiting better than they ever have in the history of the program right now. I said, Alabama can't win with that facility. We've never won more than we're winning right now. The can't stuff is like, how can you say we can't when we literally are?
We're doing it right now.
But things do need to be better. We do need to play better interior defense. Nate is well aware. Jimmy and Luke, well aware. We've got to play better.
We've told Nate. Don't worry, guys. We've told him.
We told him. He said, "For real? Or that's what we need to do?" We're like,
we are all up in it.
We're the guys talking at the convenience store with Nate overhearing us.
We just go by a convenience store, hope that Nate comes to it, needing gas. And then as soon as he comes in, we start. Anyway. All right. Let's get this. All right, Jimmy, that's going to do it for today. We will be back probably Sunday with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.